fifth reason that it's a very good thing to know about psychology when you're a manager is because you've got to make things happen. You've got to change the way things are done. You have to implement change. I'm sure you know that old famous Einstein saying, insanity, doing the same things but expecting different results, right? And because we live in this fast changing world, carry on doing the same things. Yeah, it'll keep you going for a while, but there's going to come a point where you start falling behind, and that can have massive impacts on careers and businesses. You got to understand the psychology of change. Now, if you think about any job, it really has two core functions. To deliver results based on current practices, the way the business works, because that's what keeps the business going as it is right now. So you've got to deliver results in the context of the way things are. But you also have to be looking at how can we make this better? How can we improve? And once you start looking at how to improve, you'll start thinking about, well, how do we change? And that can be uncomfortable. I mean, there is an idea out there that a lot of people talk about, that people hate change. To some extent, that's true. But actually, what's truer is people do not hate change. What they hate is being changed by someone else when they don't understand the purpose of the change, or they feel that their security is going to be threatened. And that's very much what can happen if you're trying to implement change in a business and you're not taking people along with you on that change and how it affects them and what they can do to be a good part of that change. So there's another saying which I love, which is people don't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. What that really is like, if it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I sort of get that. But at the same time, if you're not paying attention to what's going on, the way things are changing, suddenly it will become broken. Whatever it is you do will become broken, not because you're doing things different, not because you've broken them, but because what's demanded, what's expected in the world in which you operate, those expectations have changed. And what you do and the way you do them no longer fits. So the world can break what you do. So that's when the pain of change becomes enough that you're going to change. The trouble is, if you wait until that happens, you're behind the game because the world's moved on. Now you're trying to play catch up. I like this idea. Success equals changing before you have to. Yeah, just think about what that means, right? It means you've got to be looking for the areas where change is relevant. You've got to be working out new ways of doing things before it becomes necessary to do things. And that's a great way of thinking about success. Most people who are successful actually have this attitude, and it's a highly psychological state because we get comfortable, we get in our comfort zone. It feels scary to change. We like to sort of stay comfortable, get used to being uncomfortable, because everything that you want that you haven't got, guess what? It lies in your uncomfortable zone. Have a think about developing this idea of changing before you have to, because as a manager, you are going to have to motivate people. You're going to have to influence them. You're going to have to persuade them. These are psychological skills. And if you don't have them, if you haven't developed these skills, guess what? It's going to lead to what might be called bad behaviors. Things like emotional manipulation to get what you want. Maybe becoming angry and frustrated and raising voices, or using your position of power and authority to get what you want. Implied threats of, if you don't do what I want, your job's at risk. These are all bad behaviors, and so many people use them to this day, even though these psychological issues are well known and the techniques are well known, but many people haven't developed these skills, so they fall into bad behaviors. And a little bit of self-awareness here is a very valuable thing. If you've ever felt yourself being sucked into what you might think of as a bit of bad behavior to get what you want done, you might want to think about that, because that approach always leads to this. It always leads to wasted talent, because if you're getting what you want by means other than motivation and influence and persuasion, it's going to lead people to hold back their talent. They're literally not going to give you what they can give you. They're going to become reliant on you to make decisions, tell them what to do, And if it goes wrong, they're going to blame you. You will not get the best out of people. And it will also lead to lost talent, because people leave bad managers. You know, people very rarely leave a job. They tend to leave a bad manager. So you might want to get your head around that, especially if you've been experiencing some high levels of turnover, you know, in your business or your team.